Well, let's get to our second conversation this afternoon. The Director General of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, Mr. Segun Ajayi-Kadri, has expressed deep concern over the recent tariff hikes introduced by U.S. President Donald Trump, stating that the move poses serious threats to Nigeria's manufacturing sector and the country's broader economic stability. Mr. Ajayi-Kadri described the new tariff as a strategic move aimed at boosting American domestic manufacturing, but warned that such policies create significant barriers for Nigerian exporters, particularly at a time when the country is just beginning to expand its non-oil export footprint. He noted that the United States remains one of Nigeria's most important trade partners, accounting for nearly 7% of the country's non-oil exports. In 2024, trade between Nigeria and the United States was valued at 9.59 trillion naira, with Nigeria's exports reaching 5.52 trillion naira. The imposition of a 14% tariff now directly threatens this trade relationship, particularly as Nigeria is working with a 55 trillion naira budget and contends with declining oil prices, falling below the benchmark of $75 per barrel. My guest is the Director General, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Mr. Segun Ajayi-Kadri. He's standing by via Zoom. Mr. Segun Ajayi-Kadri, DG, thank you so much for being on the program this afternoon. It's good to see you as always. Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Mr. Segun Ajayi-Kadri. He's standing by via Zoom. Mr. Segun Ajayi-Kadri, DG, thank you so much for being on the program this afternoon.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be on your show again.
I guess it's a bit of delay there, but if you can hear me clearly, let's start this conversation. What do you make of Donald Trump's tariff, particularly with its impact on Nigeria's manufacturing sector? Nigeria's manufacturing sector?
Well, I think it's quite worrisome, and a lot of analysts have indicated that every nation needed to adjust to what has become the Trump 2.0. And so we needed a situation where every country looks at how the situation has impacted them. But specifically talking about Nigeria, that has witnessed quite positive trade relationship with America, and seeing that we have had a net positive balance of trade with America. I mean, just 2024, America recorded a negative trade balance to the tune of about 143 million US dollars. So you will imagine that America will be worried about its trade relationship with us. But as Nigeria faces the prospect of having a system that is tuned against it and not being able to enjoy the positive trade, the manufacturing sector will be very worried. As we stand, the manufacturing sector will be worried about the capacity to export profitably and competitively into the American market, because there will be some countries with which America enjoys more positive trade relationship. And so the products that they have imported, that they have exported to America will give them an edge over Nigeria. You will recall that, and I think we'll continue to enjoy it before September 2025, that the AGOA leaves us with free export in several products, which we have taken advantage of. But with this tariff now, that has put an end to it, and what we used to enjoy will no longer be able to enjoy. So for us, it has the implication of, one, making our export more expensive, and also making us uncompetitive when compared to other countries that have relatively lower cost of production and are able to export to America at lower cost. Is then going to have a backlash effect on our operation within the country. That means those companies that have modeled their export strategy towards America, we have to think elsewhere. So this has a very serious implication for jobs, for capacity utilization, for profitability, and if care is not taken, for the sustenance of those companies.
Now, what does this also mean for competitiveness of Nigerian goods?
You know, we operate in an environment that is that high cost is endemic. And until recent times, when last year, for instance, we witnessed that our exports to Africa far exceeded what we were exporting to America, China, and other trading partners, it will have meant a very serious blow on the manufacturing sector. But for our competitiveness, it is a dual impact. In terms of being competitive within the American market, we will be disadvantaged. It also has to do with even the cost of our production in the country, because we import basically capital goods, and from countries that will be impacted, whether we like it or not, by the imposition of tariffs by America. So they are going to be looking for markets where they are going to make up for the losses that they have made. And since we import capital goods from both America and those countries, we are going to be hit by higher costs. So for our competitiveness, even in the non-American countries to which we export, we are going to witness a diminishing capacity to compete. However, like we have said, we have the African market where we should be able to turn to in terms of strategy to be able to improve on our competitiveness, thanks to the most favorable nation advantage that we have with the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement.
Now, DG, what's your outlook generally looking at all of this back and forth that we've seen? Trump doesn't look like he's going to step back with regards to some of these policies and all. Where do we stand as a country?
So I think just like every other country in the world, we all need to focus on what we need to do to not only survive the Trump 2.0, but we should be able to rely on it to boost our exports and to be able to put our house right. Somebody said Trump was actually trying to reset the global economy so that countries that have naturally not paid so much attention to how they manage their international trade and their penetration into the international economic landscape would take it more seriously. So I think for us in Nigeria, it offers an opportunity for us to look inwards. What we have always said is that there is no way you can trump domestic resilience and capacity to absorb foreign shocks. We needed to build an environment that allows a virile manufacturing sector so that when you have shocks like this, they are better able to react. And what should Nigerian manufacturers be doing? And what should Nigerian government try to do? First, we need to be able to improve the environment in which we operate so that we can operate at lower cost. You can imagine if we are able to lower our costs and we are able to put in policies that will intentionally promote export, will be the impact of a higher export duty on our products into the American market will have minimal effect. We'll also be able to diversify our export portfolio such that we'll be able to meander and export those products that may not be impacted by the tariff. We'll also be able to determine other markets apart from America, because America is just second to our export to Africa. We exported up to 8.7 trillion to our African brothers and only 5.5 trillion to America just last year. And like I said, we were already enjoying a $143 million in terms of advantage over our trade with America. So this gives us an opportunity to come inwards and have a conversation between government and the private sector, particularly the manufacturing sector, so that we are able to build resilience for the manufacturing sector. We should also be able to engage in diplomacy that is granular and specific about what we need to trade off. Because those 25 items that irritated America, according to what was stated by the Trade Representative Office in America, they were not targeted specifically at America. They were put in place as strategic fiscal policy measures to protect the domestic industry. So I don't think we should just go away and give it away because America is increasing, is pushing this trade war. So I think we needed to look more inward and be able to re-strategize so that government in partnership with the private sector will be able to take a holistic view at our export trade and be able to marshal what is needed for the American market and see how we will negotiate, because this is the time for foreign affairs to work with the Office of the Coordinating Minister for the Economy for us to co-create an atmosphere that allows domestic products to be able to have targeted export only into America, and in other places where will be better, other markets that will be exporting to America, because whether we like it or not, America, even though they are not our most valuable export market, but they are stable export market, but they are still a dominant figure. Government to government relationship. It should be government to government relationship. It should be as a government private sector in Nigeria responding to what is obviously a trade issue that involves the private sector.
Interesting.
Involves the private sector.
Interesting way to live it.